Hi, this is jeng, and today we're talking about NOI. NOI equals net operating income. So we're going to talk about what it is, how do you calculate it, why does it matter, and then how to reach out to me if you have any other questions. So what is it? So net operating income is essentially your revenue minus your expenses. And so that seems pretty straightforward, but for the same property, everyone will calculate it differently. So you have the most aggressive, which will be the listing brokers or sellers. In the middle will probably be the buyers, and then the most conservative will be your lenders and appraisers. So sellers, obviously, they want the highest price, so they want the most aggressive NOI. Buyers are probably going to be looking at it as a basis for their investment, and so they're going to look at current NOI versus what they can grow it to. And then lenders are going to use the NOI to determine their loan amount. So let's look at an example here. Here's a deal, Class B deal here in Dallas, 300 plus units. And the NOI that the broker is putting on their pro forma is essentially 2.2 million. All right. So at a 5.5% cap rate, that equates to a $41 million price. The appraiser, he's going to come in, he looks at his historicals. He comes in at 2.159, which is about 5.5% cap, so about 100,000 lower than the listing broker, and his value is going to be 39 million. And then the lender is going to come in, and we're going to spend some time here on this sheet, and they're going to underwrite the NOI. So what are the pieces of the NOI? Let's start at the very top. So gross potential rent. This is as if every unit was at market rent, and vacancy, and then is going to be any physical vacancy, rental concessions, delinquencies. These are going to be like if you're giving any specials, or if you're charging people rent, people are living there and they're not paying you. Those are going to be your concessions and delinquency, and that's going to get to your net rental revenue. So this net rental revenue, the lenders are going to be looking at a T12 to see that it's going up. And then if it is going up, then they're going to take a T3 and annualize that. So the last 3 months and annualizing that. On the other income side, there's things that are considered good news income, such as laundry, let's say parking, utility reimbursement, whereas bad news income is going to be things such as late fees, forfeited security deposits, and they might take a percentage of that. So you add your net rental plus your other income, that's your total income. Now, when you go to expenses, essentially everything is going to be pro forma expenses. The one thing that the lenders are going to be looking at a lot more detail is really going to be around utilities, and then in terms of everything else, they're really going to be looking at pro forma. So pro forma taxes, like when you come in and buy the deal, what's it going to be? What's your pro forma insurance, repairs and maintenance? Who are you going to use to manage the property? Who are you going to use for payroll? And then they're going to compare that historically, and then what your pro forma is. And if you have a compelling story, they can use your pro forma from the lender side. And then your replacement reserve is going to be based off of the engineering report. So they're going to go out there and look at the properties, capital expenditures, large items such as the, let's say, boiler or chiller, individual HVACs, the roof, and they're going to look at the next 10 to 12 years and figure out, what reserves do you need to be holding back for this type of property. So in terms of expense ratio, this is sort of the gut check. Class C deals, you're probably 55 to 65%. On B deals, you're probably 45 to 55%. And A deals, you might be 40 to 50% of your total revenue on your expenses. And so the lender, after they did all those calculations, they came up with 2.143 as their NOI. And so this basically equates to a $30 million loan at 4%. The debt service was 1.7 million. So you get to a debt service coverage ratio of 1.25. And so if the buyer actually went out and bought this deal, let's say for 40 million, they can get a $30 million loan, which is about 75%, which sounds about right for this type of asset. And so you can tell, like, all right, so if the seller uses their NOI, they want to sell it for 41 million. The appraisers come in at about 39, and the buyer is at 2.15, so he'll be at about 39 million. He can get a $30 million loan. And so what most buyers are looking at is not only the NOI that they currently have the property at, but what can I grow it to, right? So what can I do to improve the rents? What can I do to improve the expenses? And you can see just from growing your NOI from 2.15 to 2.6, let's say over 5 years, you can increase the value of the property to about $47 million, assuming a 5.5% cap. So appreciate everybody watching. My background is really on loan underwriting and originating multifamily loans and investing in them. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, like the video, and then also there's a link in the top banner to join the email list. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me either cell phone or email. Thanks a lot.